love lives here.
Chukayadega, Victoria Bomberry, Chafutska Dos. Good morning, everybody. My name is Reverend Victoria Bomberry, and I'm so happy to greet you in my language, and I'm happy to greet you in English, and if I did a couple more, we might be here all day, so I'll get started. I've been traveling, and I always love coming home, and I love seeing all these beautiful faces, and I see that we have people here, and we have people online, and I just want to let you know, if you're not here, you should be here for the music, if nothing else. Wasn't that awesome this morning? Oh my gosh, it was incredible. And Frank wasn't up here by these stairs, and he's just walking up right now. And I'm always bragging about him, saying, I used to get angry at Frank when he would try to help me up these stairs. And I could just bound up here really easily, right? And then I'm like, when I'm in other places, I'm thinking, where's Frank? So I always appreciate you, Frank, for helping us out. So spring is a time of renewal and forgiveness. Many cultures release resentments and grudges at this time. They undergo purification ceremonies to restore harmony and balance individually and for the entire community. This is done as the newness is able to take root and grow. So that's how you prepare the ground, right? You start with yourself. Before you even think of planting a seed, right? You have to start with yourself, because that energy that you put into anything really matters. What you can release to let the new rush in new and wondrous ways. So this is a time of excitement and enthusiasm, energy, all those E's that we had this morning, right? That's what we're doing right now. We're here at this beautiful time. And I am just so grateful that we here at Centers for Spiritual Living are able to connect with one another, especially as we celebrate the newness of life. So today's talk title is A New Dawn, A New Day, A New Life. Many of you probably recognize the lyrics from Feeling Good that was popularized by Nina Simone. And don't you think it's a perfect song for spring? Isn't it? Before I even knew I was doing this talk, I have it on my calendar months in advance. That song just started coming to me. It was just like, that's it. That's going to be my talk when I'm speaking at Riverside, because it just says it all. And Nina Simone sang that song against the background of the turmoil of the 60s. And it's a song of liberation and emancipation. And sometimes I think, we hear that phrase, history repeats itself. And, we are in another time where we have a lot of social things going on. Society has some problems that we're called to address together. And I think that this song is paving the way again for the new, to let go of the past, to let go of those things that have been holding us back from living as who we are as people of spirit and faith. Oh. And here at Centers for Spiritual Living, we're united in our global vision. And the first statement of that vision reads, quote, "We see a world in which every person lives in alignment with their highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with God and connection with each other. A world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action." And Easter Sunday is the perfect day to remind ourselves of this. Because the message of Jesus was to create a new beginning, a new humanity, united by the healing power of love. That's the message of Jesus. If we said nothing else, that was his message. In every one of the parables, there was healing and love, a newness, that breathing the freshness into life, a life that in his time had stagnated. And there was so much oppression, and there was just a feeling, contraction, and hatred amongst people from his own faith. So Jesus brought this message. And as we say, you know, Jesus is the great example, not the exception. And he always said, we can do all of this and more. And that's what we're called to do. It's spring. And like I said, it's a time of renewal and forgiveness. And Jesus practiced forgiveness. You know, on Good Friday, I went to Stations of the Cross, Immigrant Stations of the Cross in Adelanto. And I've never participated in Stations of the Cross before, but it was very powerful. It was very powerful to go through this beautiful ceremony and relate it to the immigrant experience at this time, especially those who are persecuted and incarcerated in places, detention centers like Adelanto. And we know that on that day that Jesus was crucified, in maybe small way, but spirit helpful. It was immeasurable, the help that they gave at that time. And Jesus practiced forgiveness. He was the great example of forgiveness that day. And he also showed us a way of renewal of spirit in the midst of this very trying time. So for my people, there's a traditional practice to purify yourself in the spring. And mainly, it's the men who are purifying themselves. And sometimes our elders will say, well, women have their own methods of purification. And we recognize that specialness of women, but also the specialness of men, that they go through a different kind of purification ceremony. And oftentimes that purification has to do with having been involved in conflicts where there's, you know, kind of a violent shock or something. And, you know, that has to be purified because anything like that does change you. And you have to go through a period of transformation to come back into harmony with yourself and with everyone else. And, you know, back in those days when we were still in the southeastern part of the United States, what's now the United States, we would even break the pots, our cooking pots. So they were clay pots, so they were easy to replace, but it was in recognition that we're letting go of the past. And again, it was reinforcing that whole idea that we need new energy at this time. We need to renew, that even our cooking pots hold on to that energy. If we are preparing food with resentment and anger and unforgiveness, well, that's what we're going to be eating all year long, right? So break those pots. Clean those pots real good this spring. Get rid of all that resentment or that anger or whatever it might be, because we're allowing this fresh new energy that will nourish us and not do something to hold us back. Looking at cultures around the world, we see this emphasis on renewal at this time of the year. Ramadan is being held right now. And it's in commemoration of the first revelation to the prophet. And the revelation was the Quran. And if we look at the time that Muhammad was living in, it was a time when his people were being persecuted. They were being chased around the desert. It was a rough time, and women were being treated terribly. And, all of these things were happening, and he had this revelation during meditation in a cave. And the angel Gabriel came to him, and he showed him this book. And he said, read. And Muhammad said, I can't read. So Muhammad was given that book in this revelation, and it was spoken to him, and it was later recorded. So just imagine this great renewal that is indicated by the celebration of Ramadan. And it's a time of fasting. It's a time of support for everyone in the community. And then there's Passover that's taking place now. And again, the people are yearning for something new. They're yearning to be free. They're enslaved in Egypt, and they are asking to be free. So what better song do we have than Nina Simone's anthem that reminds us that life is good, life can be renewed. And there's also the practice of Holi in India, which is a practice of going out and just being joyful. And people throw colors on one another. So you see these clouds of color all over the place that land on people, and you could be painted green, or you may even look like this blazer that Jeannie has on. You could be multicolored. And again, that's a reminder of the joyousness of this time, even in the midst of some sorrow, right? The times we live in can be sorrowful too. But in the midst of it, there's always joy, and there's that promise of renewal. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, which is our philosophy that we follow here at Centers for Spiritual Living, he wrote, quote, "A completely integrated person is one who has learned to meet everything as it comes along and to make the best of it. When we say one should make the best of things, we do not mean that one should grin and bear it or even suffer it to be so. We know there is a way to meet every situation through the use of the power greater than ourselves. This is done by knowing that there is nothing to be afraid of, that we are one with an infinite power, an infinite partner, and that there is nothing in the universe designed to harm us. We must meet every situation as it comes with faith and trust." And that's the reading for today from 365 Days of Science of Mind. And I thought it was really apt for us today, because we do meet every situation as it comes with faith and trust, right? Don't we do that? This is our philosophy. That's what we do. And we're not meant to suffer. We really aren't. Any kind of suffering that we experience is suffering that we either visit on ourselves, or because we have not raised ourselves as a human species, that we're still doing things that are harmful to one another. So in our philosophy, we know that there is a power that resides in each and every one of us, that is a part of us, and we are a part of it. And we can use that power to make incredible changes in our own lives and in our societies. As we celebrate today, I want to share an experience I had in Hawaii several years ago. I don't know exactly when it was now, but it stayed with me so powerfully. I was visiting my son, who was going to, well, maybe he was working at that time. You know, my family is multicultural in every single way that you can imagine. We've got, my sons are Native Hawaiian too, as well as Native American. And my son loves Hawaii. I think it speaks to him in a very powerful way. And for many years, he was involved there in Hawaii, going to school and working with community organizations. So I went to visit, and we were driving around the island of Oahu, and I saw a little church. It didn't look very big at all. It was smaller than this church, this sanctuary. And I saw a shark out in the front of it, you know, a statue of a shark. And I said, son, we have to stop there. I said, look, there's an aumakua, and it's a shark. We have to stop there. And an aumakua is a guardian, a spiritual guardian. And a lot of, Native Hawaiians have these guardians for their family. And it could be, some people it's a shark, some people it's a whale, you know, different animals can be their guardian. But somehow, for me, when I lived in Hawaii, the shark spoke to me very strongly. In fact, there was even a stone shark pretty close to where I lived that I would walk past all the time. So I felt an affinity with that shark. So I said, we have to go in there. We have to go see this church. And it was a Catholic church. So we opened the doors of the church. And the stained glass was not Jesus on the cross, the way that we see in many Catholic churches. It was Jesus with the biggest smile on his face. And he looked like he was leaping out into the sanctuary just to greet everyone who was there. And we both were stunned, right? And we said, wow, Jesus is really happy. Jesus is really happy. Look at this. And that's what freedom looks like. It's larger than life. And it's just filled with this power and this energy and this renewal and the promise that that is ours whenever we want it. We can be that free. We can be that powerful. We can be that joyful. We can be all of that. And I am just knowing as we move forward that this time of renewal speaks to us in a powerful way, a way that we have never imagined before. Oh. So, you know, I've talked about all of these different traditions that are all across the globe. And I just want to remind everyone that we live in this promise of connection globally. And, you know, religious science, and that, you know, is a philosophy that we follow here. It was an effort to bring science and spirituality together, and those are usually not in conversation in traditional religions. And it was an effort to bring East and West together. And that was a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. And now we're at this point in our history where we're even more connected. When bringing East and West seemed like an impossibility during Ernest Holmes' time, we have the possibility to bring the four directions together, east, west, north, south, bringing all of the wisdom of the world to bear on our present life. And we're connecting in a way that we've never been able to before. And just weaving these stories together, we can catch the wisdom that is present in every tradition, in every culture, every nation, because it takes us all to have a clear sense of what is ours to do in this world at this time. Every day is new, and that is the gift of life. This week, as I reflected on this talk, things appeared to me that gave me tremendous joy. And one of them was I had the opportunity to see the full moon setting in the west. It was huge. It was a huge orange ball. It looked like it was bigger than the usual full moons. And in the east, the huge orange ball of the sun was rising. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in my life. So I've seen a lot of moons, and I've seen a lot of full moons. And say I saw 60% of the full moons in my life. That'd be around 500 full moons that I've seen. And I've never seen anything like that. Never. There's newness all around us that we can be reminded that every day is a new day. And see how I did that? You guys are going to have to do math if you want to know how old I am. I don't know what I might see today, what I might hear, what I might experience. But I know that everything is good and very good. And I know that as we breathe in this newness, as we practice the newness in our life, that all is well, all is good. All is wonderful. You know, it's always fun when a page of your talk disappears, but we're at our time, so it's probably good, right? Everything happens for a reason. So all of you, I gave you a piece of origami paper, and those are, the colors of holly are on there, are holy. I looked up how to say it, and holy is British, and holy is American. So I'll say holy. That's what we talk here, American. So the different colors, there's red, that's for love. Yellow is for joy. Blue is to remind us of the spiritual realm. Green is for healing and newness. So any of those colors, and you have two colors on your origami paper, just think about the what resonates with you out of those words. If you have yellow, maybe that's youth and happiness and playfulness. And use that in your journal this week. So that'll be a practice that you can do. And as we move into this newness, this wondrous, wondrous life, remind yourself that it is a new dawn, it is a new day, and it is a new life. And so it is. Let's turn within. Oh, let's just breathe in this newness, the new day, the new dawn, knowing that we feel good. We choose to feel good. No matter what might be going on around us, we step forward in faith and trust in the goodness of God, knowing that everything has been laid down for us as a beneficent universe, a universe that supports us in every way. I know that this is the truth of our being, and I know that we can partner with the divine and align ourselves with the divine in the creative act of living a life that is worth living. That we choose life, that we choose joy, we choose peace, we choose harmony, we choose abundance, and we choose to see life as it is, as that bright luminescence of spirit that is heaven right here and right now. And I know as we go forward into this week that we are blessed and we are a blessing. I release my word into the action of the law, knowing that it is already done in the mind of God. And please join me in anchoring this in consciousness by saying, and so it is, and now it is,